I've been thinking recently about changing the name of my channel. No more Konglish, people sometimes say, more like no more subscribers. So I asked a Korean friend for some suggestions. After going back and forth a bit, we settled on a name, 영어 다방. I love it, she said. It sounds like a cozy place you can keep going back to learn English. It's perfect. Just 3 days later, I checked back in with her with a few more suggestions just to see what she thought. And she told me, oh, by the way, I don't like tabang anymore. Tabang is out. For me, this confirmed something I've been thinking about for a while. That Korea, perhaps more than any other country, is a country of trends. Things seem to suddenly catch on, spread like wildfire, and then, before you know it, they're yesterday's news. Things go in and out of fashion here like nobody's business. And that becomes even clearer when you've been out of the country for a while. I left Korea in 2019, came back 3 years later, and suddenly everyone wanted to know what my MBTI was. Now, to be honest, I didn't really want to take the MBTI test, perhaps for fear of being pigeonholed, and also because I think I'm naturally a bit skeptical about these kinds of online personality tests. But after being pestered for a while by a few of my students, eventually I bit the bullet, sat down with a couple of Korean friends at a coffee shop, and took the test. And it turns out I'm an INTJ. So what does that say about me? I'm an introvert. As much as I enjoy hanging out with a small group of close friends every now and then, I'm perfectly happy on my own doing my own thing for most of the day. I'm intuitive. Intuitive people focus more on general ideas, on the big picture, than on facts. And I read somewhere that they also tend to doubt and test everything. And as a natural skeptic, this last bit certainly rings true for me. T. Thinking, as opposed to feeling, means relying more on logic than on emotions. And while I'm naturally very empathetic, when it comes to facing some kind of problem or task, I certainly try to stay as objective as I can, and I try not to let my feelings cloud my judgment. And finally, J. Judging. Preferring clarity and certainty, and sticking to the plan rather than going with the flow. And when it comes to working, it's definitely the case that I like to know very clearly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not a fan of sudden changes to my schedule and that kind of thing. So, as a rough guide to someone's character, the MBTI test seems like a fairly fun and useful tool. In Korea, it's often used as a conversation starter, and it can be handy in other ways too. Another Korean friend of mine, also an introvert, said that in the past it was harder when she wanted to get out of social engagements. These days, though, she can just say, "Sorry, I'm an I," and straight away people get the message. It's also helped me get to know my Korean friends a little bit better too. People always want you to guess their MBTI, and it's happened a few times when I've been convinced that one of my friends is a big extrovert, but it's turned out they're actually the complete opposite. One thing that puzzles me, though, is why the MBTI test has taken off so much in Korea compared to other countries like mine, the UK, where most people have heard of the MBTI test, but it's definitely not something that comes up in regular, everyday conversation. Perhaps it's because Koreans are generally shy about being different and standing out from the crowd. So maybe the MBTI gives people license to explore these differences a bit and to feel comfortable doing so. Because in a weird way, the MBTI test makes you feel different, while at the same time still feeling the same. After all, There are only 16 categories to fall into, so whatever your personality type, you're always going to have a whole bunch of other people with the same result as you. So perhaps that's one reason why it's popular here. But then again, I might just be overthinking things. Maybe it's just that the MBTI is another craze, and people, especially Koreans, don't want to feel left out. In any case, we're all unique and complicated, and of course our personalities can't fully be summed up in just 4 or 5 letters. We're all the sums of our nature, our unique genetic makeup, and our experiences. The people we've met, the books we've read, the places we've been, the good and the bad. And knowing someone's MBTI is no real indicator of how well you know them or how well you're going to get on with them. My identical twin brother, a guy I know like the back of my hand, has also taken the MBTI test. While our personalities are pretty different, I was certain we'd end up with the same MBTI. But it turned out only half our result, the I and the J, was the same. So no test can fully reflect who you are, but of course, that's not really the point of the MBTI. People like it because it helps them get to know themselves and each other better, brings friends and strangers a little closer together, and gives people something interesting and light to talk about around the coffee table, over a beer or bottle of soju, or perhaps on a first date. And in an ultra-competitive society, where people are wrapped up in their studies and work for most of the day, that's a very precious thing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.